This is part 2 of A Momentary Taste of Being by James Tiptree, Jr. Immensely tall, eternally noble, the woman paces through gray, streaming clouds. In rituals of grief she moves, her heavy hair bound with dark jewels. She gestures to her head, her heart, a mourning queen pacing beside a leaden sea. Chained beasts move slowly at her heels, the tiger stepping with sad majesty, the ape mimicking her despair. She plucks the bindings from her hair in agony. It streams on the icy wind. She bends to loose the tiger, urging it to freedom. But the beast form wavers and swells, thins out. The tiger floats to ghostly life among the stars. The ape is crouching at her feet. She lays her long fingers on its head. It has turned to stone. The woman begins a death chant, breaking her bracelets one by one beside the sea. Aaron is awake now, his eyes streaming with grief. He hears his own throat gasping, ugh, 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 a sound he hasn't made since his parents died, he remembers sharply. The pillow is soaked. What is it? What the hell is doing it? That was Laurie's goddamn ape and tiger, he thinks. Stop it! Quit! He stumbles up, finds it's the middle of the night, not morning. As he douses his face, he is acutely aware of a direction underfoot, an invisible line leading down through the hole to the sealed-up scouter to the alien inside. Laurie's alien in there. All right. Face it. He sits on his bunk in the dark. Do you believe in alien telepathic powers, Dr. K? Is that vegetable in there broadcasting on a human wavelength, sending out despair? Possible, I suppose, Doctor. Anything, almost anything is possible. But the tissue samples, the photos, they showed no differentiated structure, no neural organization, no brain. It's a sessile plant thing, like a cauliflower, a big lichen, like a bunch of big grapes, she said. All it does is metabolize and put out a little bioluminescence. Discrete cellular potentials cannot generate anything complex enough to trigger human emotions. Or can they? No, he decides. We can't do it ourselves, for God's sake. And it's not anything physical like subsonics, not with the vacuum between. And besides, if it is doing this, Laurie couldn't possibly have got back here sane. Nearly a year of living 10 feet away from a thing sending out nightmares? Not even Laurie. It has to be me. I'm projecting. Okay. It's me. He lies down again, reminding himself that it's time he ran another general checkup. He should expand the free association session, too. Other people may be getting stress phenomena. Those Tig sightings. Last time he caught 2 incipient depressions. And he'll do all that part himself. People won't take it from Kobe, he thinks, and catches himself in the fatuity. The fact is that people talk a lot more to Kobe than they do to him. Maybe I have one of Laurie's holy holies, he grins, drifting off. Tig drifts in through the walls, curled in a fetal clasp, his genital sac enormous. But it's a different Tig. He's green, for one thing, Aaron sees, and vastly puffy, like a huge cauliflower or a cumulus cloud. Not frightening. Not anything, really. Aaron watches neutrally as cumulus cloud green Tig swells, thins out, floats to ghostly life among the stars. One bulbous baby hand waves slowly. Ta-ta. With a jolt, Aaron discovers it really is morning. He lurches up, feeling vile. When he comes out, Solange is sitting at the desk beyond the vertex. Aaron feels instantly better. Soli, where the hell were you? There are so many problems, Aaron. She frowns, a severe flower. When you come out, you will see. I am giving you no more supplies. Maybe I'm not coming out. Aaron draws his hot cup. Oh? The flower registers disbelief, dismay. Captain Yellowston said 3 weeks, the period is over, and you are perfectly healthy. I don't feel so healthy, Soli. Don't you want to come out, Aaron? Her dark eyes twinkle. Her bosom radiates the shapes of holding and being held. She warms him through the vertex. Aaron tries to radiate back. They have been lovers for 5 years now. He loves her very much in his low sex drive way. You know I do, Soli. He watches Kobe come in with Aaron's printouts. How am I doing, Bill? Any sign of alien plague? Solange's face empathizes again, tender alarm. She's like a play, Aaron thinks. If a brontosaurus stubbed its toe, Sully would go, ooh, in sympathy. Probably do the same at the crucifixion, but he doesn't hold that against her. Only so much bandwidth for anybody. Soli is set low. Don't pick up a thing on visual, boss, except you're not sleeping too good. I know. Bad dreams. Too much excitement, buried bogeys stirring up. When I get out, we're going to run another general checkup. When the doc gets symptoms, he checks everybody else, Kobe says cheerfully, the leer almost unnoticeable. He's happy, all right. By the way, Tiger's awake. He just took a pee. Good. I'll see if I can bring him out to eat. When Aaron goes in, he finds Tig trying to sit up. Want to come out and eat, Tiger? Aaron releases him from the tubes and electrodes, assists him outside to the dispenser. As Tig sees Solange, his hand whips up in his old, jaunty greeting. Eerie to see the well-practiced movements so swift and deft. For minutes, the deficit is hidden. Quite normally he takes the server, begins to eat. But after a few mouthfuls, a harsh noise erupts from his throat, and the server falls. He stares at it tragically as Aaron retrieves it. Let me, Aaron. I have to come in. Solange is getting into her decontamination suit. She brings in the new batch of tapes. Aaron goes down the hall to run them. The interview room is normally their data processing unit. Centaur's builders really did a job, he muses, while the spools spin nominal, as before. Adequate provision for quarantine, provision for every damn thing. Imagine it, a starship. I sit here in a ship among the stars. Centaur, the second one ever. Pioneer was the first. Aaron had been in 3rd grade when Pioneer headed out for Barnard's star. He was in high school when the signal came back red. Nothing. What circles Barnard's star? A rock? A gas ball? He will never know because Pioneer didn't make it back to structured signal range. Aaron was an intern when they declared her lost. Her regular identity code had quit, and there was a new, faint radio source in her direction. What happened? No telling. She was a much smaller, slower ship. Centaur's builders had redesigned on the basis of the reports from Pioneer while she was still in talking distance. Aaron pulls his attention back to the tapes, automatically suppressing the thought of what will happen if Centaur 2 finds nothing after all. They have all trained themselves not to think about that, the fact that Earth is in no shape to mount another mission if Centaur fails. Even if they could, where next? 9 light-years to Sirius? Hopeless. The energy and resources to build Centaur almost weren't there 10 years ago. Maybe by now they've cannibalized the emigration holes, Aaron's submind mutters. Even if we've found a planet, maybe it's too late. Maybe nobody is waiting for our signal. He snaps his subconscious to order, confirms that the tapes show nothing, barring his own nightmare-generated peaks. Laurie's resting rates are a little up too. That's within bounds. Tig's another fraction down since yesterday. Failing. Why? It's time to pack up. Laurie and Solange are waiting to come in and hook up for the final debriefing, as Yellowstone courteously calls it. Aaron goes around into the observation cubicle and prepares to observe. Frank Foy bustles first onto his screen to run his response standardizing questions. He's still at it when Yellowstone and the 2 scout commanders come in. Aaron is hating the scene again. He makes himself admit that Dawn and Tim are wearing decently neutral expressions. Space training. They must know all about bodily humiliation. For finishes, Captain Yellowstone starts the sealed recorder and logs in the event date. Dr. K, Foy leads off, referring to your voyage back to the ship. The cargo module in which you transported the alien life form had a viewing system linked to the command module in which you lived. It was found welded closed. Did you weld it? Yes, I did. Why did you weld it? Please answer concisely. The shutter wasn't light-tight. It would have allowed my daily light cycle to affect the alien. I thought this might harm it. It seems to be very photosensitive. This is the most important biological specimen we've ever had. I had to take every precaution. The module was equipped to give it a 22-hour circadian cycle with rheostatic graded changes, just like the planet. It has beautiful, long evenings, you know. Foy coughs reprovingly. You went to the length of welding it shut. Were you afraid of the alien? No. I repeat, were you afraid of the alien? No, I was not. Well, yes. I guess I was, a little, in a sense. You see, I was going to be alone all that time. I was sure the life form was harmless, but I thought it might, grow toward the light, or even become motile. There's a common Myxomycetes, a fungus that has a motile phase, like Ogala epinedron, called coral beads. I just didn't know, and I was afraid its luminescent activity might keep me awake. I have a little difficulty sleeping. Then you do believe the alien may be dangerous? No. I know now it didn't do a thing. You can check the records. May I remind you to control your verbalization, Dr. K? Referring again to the fact that the cover was welded, were you afraid to look at the alien? Of course not. No. Young Frank really is an oddie, Aaron thinks. More imagination than I figured. Dr. K, you state that the welding instrument was left on the planet. Why? Commander Ku needed it. And the scout ship's normal tool complement is also missing. Why? They needed everything. If something went wrong, I couldn't make repairs. It was no use to me. Please, Dr. K. Sorry. Were you afraid to have a means of unsealing the alien on board? No. I repeat, Dr. K, were you afraid to keep with you a tool by which you could unseal the port to the alien? No. I repeat, were you afraid to have a means of unsealing the alien? No, that's silly. Foy makes checks on his tapes. Aaron's liver doesn't need tapes. It has already registered that hyped-up candor. Oh, God, what is she lying about? Dr. K, I repeat... Foy starts doggedly, but Yellowston has lifted one hand. Foy puffs out his cheeks, switches tack. Dr. K, will you explain again why you collected no computerized data after the first day of your stay on the planet? We did collect data. A great deal of data. It went to the computer, but it didn't get stored because the dump cycle had cut in. Nobody thought of checking it. I mean, that's not a normal malfunction. The material we lost, it's sickening. Mei Lin and Liu did a whole ecogeologic streambed profile. All the biota, everything. She bites her lips like a kid, a flush rising around her freckles. After 10 years in outer space, Lori still has freckles. Did you dump that data, Dr. K? No! Please, Dr. K. Now, I want to refresh your memory of the voice recording allegedly made by Commander Ku. He flips switches. A voice says thinly, Very well, Dr. K. You will go. It's Ku's voice, all right. Aaron knows the audiograms match, but the human ear doesn't like it. Do you claim that Commander Ku was in good health when he spoke those words? Yes. He was tired, of course. We all were. Please restrict your answers, Dr. K. I repeat, was Commander Ku in normal physical health other than fatigue when he made that recording? Yes. Aaron closes his eyes. Lori, what have you done? I repeat, was Commander Ku in normal physical and mental... Oh, all right! Lori is shaking her head desperately. Stop it, please! I didn't want to say this, sir. She gazes blindly at the screen behind which Yellowston must be, takes a breath. It's really very minor. There was a difference of opinion on the second day. Yellowston lifts a warning finger at Foy. The two scout commanders are statues. 2 members of the crew felt it was safe to remove their spacesuits. Lori swallows. Commander Ku did not agree, but they did so anyway. And they were reluctant to return to the scouter. They wanted to camp outside. She stares up in appeal. You see, the planet is so pleasant, and we'd been living in that ship so long. Foy scents a rat, pounces. You mean that Commander Ku removed his suit and became ill? Oh, no. There was an argument, Lori says painfully. He sustained a bruise in the laryngeal area. That's why... She slumps down in the chair, almost crying. Yellowston is up, brushing Foy away from the speaker. Very understandable, Doctor, he says calmly. I realize what a strain this report has been for you after your heroic effort in returning to base alone. Now we have, I think, a very full account. Foy is staring bewilderedly. He has started a rat, all right, but it is the wrong rat. Aaron understands now. The supersensitive Chinese, the undesirability of internal dissension on the official log. Implications. There was a fracas among Ku's crew, and somebody wiped China Flower's memory. So that is Laurie's secret. Aaron breathes out hard, euphoric with relief. So that's all it was. Captain Yellowston, an old hand at implications, is going on smoothly. I take it, Doctor, that the situation was quickly resolved by Commander Ku's decision to commence colonization, and his confidence that you would convey his report to us for transmission to Earth, as in fact you have done? Yes, sir, says Laurie gratefully. She is still trembling. Everyone knows that violence of any sort upsets Laurie. You see, even if something serious happened to me, the scout ship was on automatic after midpoint. It would have come through. You picked it up. She doesn't mention that she was unconscious from ulcerative hemorrhage when China Flower's signal came through the electronic hash from Centaurus's sons. It had taken Dawn and Tim a day to grapple and bring her in. Aaron looks at her with love. My little sister, the superwoman. Could I have done it? Don't ask. He listens happily while Yellowston winds it up with a few harmless questions about the planet's moons, and throws the screen open two-way to record a formal commendation for Laurie. Foy is still blinking. The two scout commanders look like tickled tigers. Oh, that planet. They nod benevolently at Laurie. Glance at Yellowston as if willing him to fire the green signal out of the top of his head. Yellowston is asking Aaron to confirm the medical clearance. Aaron confirms no discrepancies, and the quarantine is officially terminated. Solange starts unwiring Laurie. As the command party goes out, Yellowston's eye flicks over Aaron with the expressionlessness he recognizes. The old man will expect him in his quarters that evening with the usual. Aaron draws himself a hot drink, takes it into his cubicle to savor his relief. Laurie really did a job there, he thinks. Whatever kind of dust-up the Chinese had, it must have shocked her sick. She used to get hives when I played hockey, he remembers. But she's really grown up. She didn't spill the bloody details all over the log. Don't mess up the mission. That idiot Foy. You did that nicely, little sister, Aaron tells the image at the back of his mind. You're not usually so considerate of our imperfect undertakings. The image remains unmoving, smiling enigmatically. Not usually so considerate of official sensibilities? Aaron frowns. Correction. Laurie has never been considerate of man's imperfection. Laurie has never been diplomatic. If I hadn't sat on her head, Laurie would be in an adjustment center with a burn in her cortex instead of on this ship. And she's been as prickly as a bastard with poor old Jan. Has a year alone in that scouter worked a miracle? Aaron ponders queasily. He doesn't believe in miracles. Laurie conscientiously lying to preserve the fragile unity of man? He shakes his head. Very unlikely. A point occurs unwelcomely. That story did save something. It saved her own credibility. Say the Chinese wrangle happened. Was Laurie using it, letting Foy pry it out of her to account for those blips on the tape? To get herself, and something, through Francis Xavier Foy's PKG readouts? She had time to figure it. Ample time. Aaron shudders from neck to bladder and strides out of his cubicle to collide with Laurie coming out of hers. Hi. She has a plain little bag in her hand. Aaron realizes the scanners are still on overhead. Glad to be getting out? He asks lamely. Oh, I didn't mind. She wrinkles her nose. It was a rational precaution for the ship. You seem to have become more, tolerant. Yes. She looks at him with what the scanner will show as sisterly humor. Do you know when Captain Yellowston plans to examine the specimen I brought back? No. Soon, I guess. Good. The smiley look in her eye infuriates him. I really brought it back for you, Arn. I wanted us to look at it together. Remember how we used to share our treasures that summer on the island? Aaron mumbles something, walks numbly back to his room. His eyes are squeezed like a man kicked in the guts. Laurie, little devil, how could you? Her 13-year-old body shimmers in his mind, sends helpless heat into his penile arteries. He is imprinted forever, he fears, the rose-tipped nipples on her child's chest, the naked mons, the flushed pearl labia, the incredible sweetness, lost forever. He had been 15. He had ended both their virginities on a spruce island in the Fort O'Gilvy Officers' Recreational Reserve the year before their parents died. He groans, wondering if he has lost both their souls too, though he doesn't believe in souls. Oh, Laurie, is it really his own lost youth he aches for? He groans again, his cortex knowing she is up to some damn thing while his medulla croons that he loves her only and forever, and she him. Damn the selection board who had dismissed such incidents as insignificant, even healthy. Coming out, boss? Kobe's head comes in. I'm opening up all right. This place needs a shakeout. Aaron shakes himself out and goes to check over Kobe's office log. Lots of catching up to do. Later on, when he is more composed, he will visit Laurie and shake some truth out of her. He walks through the now open Vertex, finds freedom invigorating. The office log reveals 3 more insomnia complaints. That's 4 in all. Alice Berryman, the Canadian nutrition chief, is constipated. Jan Ing, his xenobiology colleague, has the trots. Quartermaster Miriam Stein had a migraine. Van Wall, the Belgian chemist, has back spasm again. The Nigerian photolab chief has sore eyes. His Russian assistant has cracked a toe bone. And there's Gomulka's knuckle. No sign of whomever he hit, unless he broke Pavel's toe. Unlikely. For Centaur, it's a long list, understandable with the excitement. Solange bustles in carrying a mess of isolation biomonitors. We have much work to do on these, Aaron. Tig will stay where he is, no? I have left his pickups on. She still pronounces it pickups. Warmed, Aaron watches her coiling input leads. Surprising, the forcefulness some small women show. Such a seductive little person. He knows he shouldn't find it mysterious and charming that she is so capable with any kind of faulty circuit. Tig's not doing so well, Sully. Maybe you or Bill can lead him around a bit, stimulate him. But don't leave him alone at any time, not even for a minute. I know, Aaron. Her face has been flashing through her tender repertory while her hands wham the sensor boxes around. I know. People are saying he is out. Yeah, you aren't getting any, anxiety symptoms yourself, are you? Bad dreams, maybe? Only of you. She twinkles, closing a cabinet emphatically, and comes over to lay her hand on the faulty circuits in Aaron's head. His arms go gratefully around her hips. Oh, Solly, I missed you. Ah, poor Aaron. But now we have the big meeting downstairs. 1500, that is 20 minutes. And you must help me with Tig. Right. Reluctantly, he lets sweet comfort go. By 1500, he is in a state of tentative stability, going down ramp to the main Commons ring where gravity is Earth normal. Commons is Centaur's chief amenity, as her designers put it. It really is an amenity, too, Aaron thinks, as he comes around a tubbed sweet olive tree and looks out into the huge toroid space stretching all the way around the hole, fragrant with greenery from the farm. Kawabata's people must have moved in a fresh lot. The unaccustomed sounds of voices and music intimidate him slightly. He peers into the varied lights and shadows, finding people everywhere. He can see only a chord of the great ring, with its rising perspective at each end showing only leaning legs and feet beyond the farthest banks of plants. He hasn't seen so many people all here at once since Freefall Day, their annual holiday when Centaur's roll is stopped and the floor viewports opened. And even the last few viewing days people tended to slip in and look alone. Now they are all here together, talking animatedly, moving around some sort of display. Arian follows Miriam Stein and finds himself looking at a bank of magnificent backlighted photos. Laurie's planet. He has been shown a few small frames from China Flower's cameras, but these blow-ups are overpowering. The planet seen from orbit, it looks like a flower-painted textile. Its terrain seems old, eroded to gentleness. The mountains or hills are capped with enormous gaudy rosettes, multi-ringed labyrinths ruffled in lemon yellow, coral, emerald, gold, turquoise, bile green, orange, lavender, scarlet, More colors than he can name. The alien vegetables, or whatever. Beautiful. Aaron gapes, oblivious of shoulders touching him. Those plants must cover miles. The next shots are from atmosphere. They show horizon and sky. The sky of Laurie's planet is violet blue, spangled with pearl-edged cirrus wisps. Another view shows altostratus over a clear silver-green expanse of sea or lake, reflecting cobalt veins. An enchanting effect. Everything exhales mildness. There is a view of an immense smooth white beach lapped by quiet water. Farther on, a misty mountain of flowers. "Isn't it wonderful?" Alice Berryman murmurs in his general direction. She's flushed, breathing strongly. The medical fraction of Aaron's mind surmises that her constipation problem has passed. They move on together, following the display which goes on and on across the common's normal hobby bays and alcoves. Aaron cannot get his fill of looking at the great vegetable forms, their fantastic color and variety. It is hard to grasp their size. Here and there Photolab has drawn in scales and arrows pointing out what appear to be fruits or huge seed clusters. No wonder Aiken's crew has sore eyes and stubbed toes, Aaron thinks. A tremendous job. He goes around an aviary cage and finds a spectacular array of night shots, showing the plants' bioluminescence. Weird auroral colors, apparently flickering or changing continuously. What the nights must be like. Aaron peers at the dark sky, identifies the two small moons of Laurie's planet. He really must stop calling it Laurie's planet, he tells himself. It's Ku's now if it's anybody's. Doubtless it'll be given some dismal official name. The mynah bird squawks, drawing his attention to another panel in the chess alcove, close-ups of the detached fruit clusters or whatever they are, with infrared and high-frequency collations. It was one of these detached clusters that Laurie brought back, along with samples of soil and water and so on. Aaron studies the display. The fruits are slightly warm and a trifle above background radiation level. They luminesce, too. Not dormant. A logical choice, Aaron decides, momentarily aware that the thing is out there on a line with his shoulder. Is it menacing? Are you giving me bad dreams, vegetable? He stares probingly at the pictures. They don't look menacing. Beyond the aquariums, he comes upon the ground pictures taken before the computer was dumped. The official first landing photo, almost life-size, showing everybody in suits and helmets beside China Flower's port. Behind them is that enormous flat beach and a far-off sea. Faces are almost invisible. Aaron makes out Laurie in her blue suit. Beside her is the Australian girl, her gloved hand very close to that of Ku's navigator, whose name is also Ku. Little Ku is identifiable by his 2-meter height. In front of the group is a flagstaff flying the United Nations flag. Ridiculous. Aaron feels his throat tighten. Ludicrous, wondrous. And the flag, he sees, is blowing. The planet has winds. Moving air, imagine. He has been too fascinated to read the text by each display, but now the word wind catches his attention. 10 to 40 knots, he reads, continuous during the period. We speculate that the dominant life forms, being sessile, obtain at least some nourishment from the air constantly moving through their fringed foliage. See atmospheric analyses. A number of types of airborne cells resembling gametes or pollen have been examined. Although the dominant plant-like forms apparently reproduce by broadcast methods, they may represent the culmination of a long evolutionary history. Over 200 less differentiated forms ranging in size from meters to a single cell have been tentatively identified. No self-motile life of any kind has been found. Looking more closely at the picture, Aaron sees that the foreground is covered with a tapestry of lichen-like small growths and soft-looking tufts. The smaller forms. He moves on to a series of photos showing the crew deploying vehicles out of China Flower's cargo port, and bumps into a ring of people around the end of that display. "Look at that," somebody sighs. "Would you look at that?" The group makes way, and Aaron sees what it is. The last photo, showing 3 suited figures with their helmets off. Aaron's eyes open wide. He feels his guts stir. There is Mei Lin, her short hair blowing in the wind. Lu En Do, his bare head turned away to look at a range of hills encrusted with the great flower castles, and little Ku smiling broadly at the camera. Immediately behind them is a ridge which seems to be covered with vermilion lace fronds, bending to the breeze. Air! Free air! Aaron can almost feel that sweet wind. He longs to hurl himself into the viewer, to stride out across the meadows, up to the hills. A paradise! Was it just after this that the crew ripped off their foul spacesuits and refused to go back to the ship? Who could blame them, Aaron thinks. Not he. God, they look happy. It's hard to remember when we lived, really lived. A corner of his mind remembers Bruce Jang, hopes he will not linger too long by that picture. The crowd has carried him half around the toroid now. He is entering a wide section full of individual console seats that is normally the library. With the privacy partitions down, it is used for their rare general assemblies. The rostrum is at the middle, where the speaker's whole figure will be most visible. It's empty. Beyond it is a screen projecting the star field ahead. Year by year, Aaron and his shipmates have watched the suns of Centaurus growing on that screen, separating to doubles and double-doubles. Now it shows only a single sun, that great blazing component of Alpha around which Laurie's planet circles. Several people are using the scanners while they wait. Aaron sits down beside a feminine back he recognizes as Lieutenant Polly, Tim Braun's navigator. Her head is buried in the scanner hood. The title panel on the console reads, Gamma Centaurus Mission 5. Verbal report by Dr. Laurie K. Excerpts from. That would be Laurie's original narrative session, Aaron decides. Nothing about the argument there. Polly clicks off and folds down the scanner hood. When Aaron catches her eye, she smiles dreamily, looking through him. Alstrom is sitting down just beyond. Unbelievably, she's smiling too. Aaron looks around sharply at the rows of faces, thinking, I've been shut away for 3 weeks. I haven't realized what the planet is doing to them. Them? He finds his own riser muscle is tight. Captain Yellowstone is moving to the speaker's stand, being stopped by questions. Aaron hasn't heard so much chatter in years. The hall seems to be growing hot, with so many bodies bouncing around. He isn't used to crowds anymore. None of them are. And this is only 60 people. Dear God, what if we have to go back to Earth? The thought is horrible. He remembers their first year when there was another view screen showing the view astern. Yellow soul, shrinking, dwindling. That had been a rotten idea, soon abolished. What if the planet is somehow no good, is toxic or whatever? What if they have to turn around and spend 10 years watching Sol expand again? Unbearable. It would finish him. Finish them all. Others must be thinking this too, he realizes. Doctor, you could have a problem. A big, big problem. But that planet has to be all right. It looks all right. It looks beautiful. The hall is falling silent, ready for Yellowstone. Aaron catches the sight of Soli on the far side. Kobe is by her with Tig between them. And there's Laurie on the other wall, sitting with Dawn and Tim. She's holding herself in a tight huddle, like a rape victim in court, probably agonized by her tapes being on the scanners. Aaron curses himself routinely for his sensitivity to her, realizes he has missed Yellowstone's opening words. The hope which we may now entertain, Yellowstone's voice is reticent but warm. It is also a rare sound on Centaur. The captain is no speechmaker. I have a thought to share with you. Doubtless it has occurred to others too. One of my occupations in the abundant leisure of our recent years, pause for the ritual smiles, has been the reading of the history of human exploration and migrations on our own planet. Most of the story is unrecorded, of course, but in the history of new colonies one fact appears again and again. That is that people have suffered appalling casualties when they attempted to move to a new habitation in even the more favorable areas of our own home world. For example, the attempts by Europeans to settle on the northeast coast of America. The early Scandinavian colonies may have lasted a few generations before they vanished. The first English colony in fertile, temperate Virginia met disaster, and the survivors were recalled. The Plymouth colony succeeded in the end, but only because they were continuously resupplied from Europe, and helped by the original Indian inhabitants. The catastrophe that struck them interested me greatly. They came from northern Europe, from above 50 degrees north. Winters there are mild because the coast is warmed by the Gulf Stream, but this ocean current was not understood at that time. They sailed south by west to what should have been a warmer land. Massachusetts was then covered by wild forests, like a park, if we can imagine such a thing, and it was indeed warm summer when they landed. But when winter came, it brought a fierce cold like nothing they had ever experienced, because that coast has no warming sea current. A simple problem to us, but their technical knowledge had not foreseen it, and their resources could not meet it. The effect of the bitter cold was compounded by disease and malnutrition. They suffered a fearful toll of lives. Consider, there were 17 married women in that colony. Of these, 15 died the first winter. Yellowstone pauses, looking over their heads. Similar misfortunes befell numberless other colonies from unforeseen conditions of heat or drought or disease or predators. I am thinking also of the European settlers in my own New Zealand and in Australia, and of the peoples who colonized the islands of the Pacific. The archaeological records of Earth are filled with instance after instance of peoples who arrived in an area and seemingly vanished away. What impresses me here is that these disasters occurred in places that we now regard as eminently favorable to human life. The people were moving to an only slightly different terrain of our familiar Earth, the Earth on which we have evolved. They were under our familiar sun, in our atmosphere and gravity, and other geophysical conditions. They met only very small differences, and yet these small differences killed them. He was looking directly at them now, his fine, light greenish eyes moving unhurriedly from face to face. I believe we should remind ourselves of this history as we look at the splendid photographs of this new planet which Commander Ku has sent back to us. It is not another corner of Earth, nor an airless desert like Mars. It is the first totally alien living world that man has touched. We may have no more concept of its true nature and conditions than the British migrants had of an American winter. Commander Ku and his people have bravely volunteered themselves to test its viability. We see them in these photographs, apparently at ease and unharmed. But I would remind you that a year has passed since these pictures were made, a year during which they have had only the meager resources of their camp. We hope and trust that they are alive and well today, but we must remember that unforeseeable hazards may have assailed them. They may be wounded, ill, in dire straits. I believe it is appropriate to hold this in mind. We here are safe and well, able to proceed with caution to the next step. They may not be. Very nice, Aaron thinks. He has been watching faces, seeing here and there a lip quirked at the captain's little homily, but mostly expressions like his own, moved and sobered. He's our peacemaker, as usual, and he's taken the edge off our envy of the China crew. Dire straits. Wonderful old phrase. Are they really in dire straits, maybe? Yellowstone is concluding a congratulatory remark for Laurie. With a start, Aaron recalls his own suspicion of her, his conviction that she is hiding something. And 10 minutes ago I was ready to rush out onto that planet, he chides himself. I'm losing balance. I have to stop these mood swings. A thought has been percolating in him, something about Ku. It surfaces. Yes, bruised larynxes croak or wheeze, but Ku's weak voice had been clear. Should check on that. People are moving away. Aaron moves with them, sees Laurie over by the ramp, surrounded by a group. She's come out of her huddle. She's answering their questions. No use trying to talk to her now. He wanders back through the displays. They still look tempting, but Yellowstone has broken the spell, at least for him. Are those happy people now lying dead on the bright ground, perhaps devoured, skeletons left? Aaron jumps. A voice is speaking in his ear. Dr. K? It's Frank Foy, of all people. Doctor, I wanted to say, I hope you understand my role, the distressing aspects. One sometimes has to perform duties that are most repugnant, As a medical man, you too must have had similar... No problem, Aaron collects himself. Why is Frank so embarrassing? It was your job. Foy looks at him emotionally. I'm so glad you feel that way. Your sister, Dr. Laurie Kay, such an admirable person. It seems incredible a woman could make that trip all alone. Yeah. By the way, speaking of incredible, Frank, I know Laurie's voice pretty well. I believe I was able to spot the points that were bothering you. In fact, I'm inclined to share your... Oh, not at all, Aaron, Foy cuts him off. You need say no more. I'm entirely satisfied. Entirely. Her explanation clears up every point. He ticks them off on his fingers. The fate of the recording system, the absence of the welder and other tools, Commander Ku's words, the question of injury. He was injured. The emotion about living on the planet. Dr. K's revelation of the, conflict dovetails perfectly. Aaron has to admit that it does. Frank goes in for chess problems, he remembers, a weakness for elegant solutions. What about welding that alien in and being afraid to look at it? Between us, that thing gives me willies too. Yes, Foy says soberly. Yes, I fear I was giving in to my natural, is xenophobia the word? But we mustn't let it blind us. Undoubtedly Commander's Ku people stripped that ship, Aaron. A dreadful experience for your sister. I felt no need to make her relive all that must have gone on. Among all those Chinese. Poor girl. When xenophobias collide, Aaron sees Foy isn't going to be much help, but he tries again. The business of the planet being ideal, a paradise and so on, that bothered me too. Oh, I feel that Captain Yellowston put his finger on the answer there, Aaron. The excitement, the elation. I hadn't appreciated it. Now that I've seen these, I confess I feel it myself. Yeah, Aaron sighs. In addition to the elegant solution, Frank has received the word. Captain Yellowston, who art in heaven, has explained. Aaron, I confess I hate these things, Foy says unexpectedly. Aaron mumbles, thinking possible maybe he does. On the surface, anyway. With a peculiar smiling-through-tears look, Foy goes on, Your sister is such a wonderful person. Her strength is as the strength of 10, because her heart is pure. Yeah, well... Suddenly the evening chow call chimes out, saving him. Aaron bolts into the nearest passageway. Oh no, not Frank Foy. No ball-breaking here, though. Abelard and Heloise, so pure. A perfect match, really. What would Frank say if he told him about Laurie and himself? Hey, Frank, when we were kids, I humped my little sister all over the 6th Army District. She screwed like a mink in those days. On second thought, forget it, Aaron tells himself. He knows how Frank would react. Oh. Long, grave pause. I'm terribly sorry, Aaron. For you. Maybe even in priestly tones, would it help you to talk about it? Et sanctimonious cetera. A tough case. Will the real Frank Foy ever stand up? No. Lucky it doesn't interfere with his being a damn good mathematician. Maybe it helps, for all I know. Humans. A good food smell is in his nose, lifting his mood. Chemoreceptors have pathways to the primitive brain. Ahead are voices, music, lights. Maybe Foy's right, Aaron muses. How about that? Laurie's story does dovetail. Am I getting weird? Sex fantasies about cis. I haven't had that trouble for years. It's being locked up with her, Tig, that alien, a big armful of soli. That's what I need. Solace. Soul ass. Resolutely ignoring a sensation that the alien is now straight overhead outside the hole, Arian fills a server and takes it over to a seat by Kobe and Jan Ing, the xenobiology chief with whom he will be working tomorrow. He's Laurie's boss. Laurie herself isn't here. Quite a crowd tonight. Yeah. In recent years, more and more of Centaur's people have been eating alone at odd hours, taking their food to their rooms. Now there's a hubbub here. Aaron sees the Peruvian oceanographer has a chart propped by his server. He's talking to a circle of people with his mouth full, pointing. Miriam Stein and her 2 girlfriends, women friends, Aaron corrects himself, who usually eat together are sitting with Bruce Jang and 2 men from Dawn's crew. EVA Chief George Brokeshoulder has shaved a black war crest on his copper scalp. He hasn't bothered to do that in years. Alstrom is over there with Aiken the photo chief, for heaven's sake. The whole tranquilized ship is coming to life, tiger eyes opening, ape brains reaching. Even the neat sign which for so long has read, "The central problem of our lives is garbage. Please clean your servers," has been changed. Someone has taped over garbage and lettered beauty. "Notice the treat we're getting, boss?" says Kobe, munching. "How did Alice get Kawabata to let loose some chicken? Oh, look!" The room falls silent as Alice Berryman holds up dessert, a plate of real, whole peaches. "1/2 for each person," she says severely. She's wearing a live flower over her ear. "People are becoming excited," the XB chief observes. "How will it sustain itself for nearly 2 years? If we go to that planet," Aaron mutters. "I could make an amoral suggestion," Kobe grins. "Tranks in the water supply." Nobody laughs. "We've made out so far without, chemical supplementation, as Frank would say," says Aaron. "I think we'll hold out." "Oh, I know. But don't say I didn't warn you it may come to that." "About tomorrow," Jan Ing says. "The first thing we will get will be the biomonitor records from the personnel section of the scout ship, right? Before we proceed to open the cargo space?" "That's the way I hear it." "Immediately after opening the aliens module, I plan to secure biopsy sections. Very minimal, of course. Dr. K says she doesn't believe that will harm the alien. We're working on extension probes that can be manipulated from outside the hatch." "The longer the better," Aaron says, imagining tentacles. "Assuming the alien life form is still alive," the XB chief taps out a silent theme, probably from Sibelius, "we'll know when we get our hands on the record." It should be. Aaron has been feeling the thing lying out beyond the buffet wall. "Tell me, Jan, do you ever have an impression that the thing is, well, present?" "Oh, we're all conscious of that," Ing laughs. "Biggest event in scientific history, isn't that so? If only it is alive." "You getting bad vibrations, boss? The dreams?" Kobe inquires. "Yeah." But Aaron can't go on. Not with Kobe's expression. "Yeah, I am. A xenophobe at heart." They go into a discussion of the tissue analyzing program and the type of bioscanners that will be placed inside the alien's module. "What if that thing comes charging out into the corridor?" Kobe interjects. "What if it's had kittens or split into a million little wrigglers?" "Well, we have the standard decontaminant aerosols," Jan frowns. "Captain Yellowston has emphasized the precautionary aspect. He will, I believe, be personally standing by the emergency vent control, which could very quickly depressurize the corridor in case of real emergency. This means we will be wearing suits. Awkward working." "Good." Aaron bites the delicious peach, delighted to hear that old Yellowston's hand will be on the button. "Jan, I want a clear understanding that no part of that thing is taken into the ship. Beyond the corridor, I mean." "Oh, I entirely agree. We'll have a complete satellite system there, including mice. It will be crowded." He swabs his server with cellulose granules from the dispenser, frowning harder. "It would be unthinkable to harm the specimen." "Yeah." Lori has still not come in, Aaron sees. Probably eating in her room after that mob scene. He joins the recycle line, noticing that the usual glumness of the routine seems to have evaporated. Even Kobe omits his scatological joke. What are Ku's people eating now, Aaron wonders? Telepathic vegetable steaks? Lori is quartered, naturally, in the all-female dorm on the opposite side of the ship. Aaron hikes up a special cross-ship ramp, as usual not quite enjoying the sharp onset of weightlessness as he comes to Centaur's core. Her central core is a wide free-fall service shaft from bow to stern, much patronized by the more athletic members of the crew. Aaron kicks awkwardly across it, savoring the rich air. It comes from a green and blue radiance far away at the stern end, the hydroponics farm, and the whole pool, their other chief amenity. He shudders slightly, recalling the horrible months when the air even here was foul and the passageways dark. 5 years ago an antibiotic from somebody's intestinal tract had mutated instead of being broken down by passage through the reactor coolant system. When it reached the plant beds, it behaved as a chlorophyll-binding quasi-virus, and Kawabata had to destroy 75% of the oxygenating beds. A terrible time, waiting with all oxygen-consuming devices shut down for the new seedlings to grow and prove clean. Brr. He starts down the exit ramp to Laurie's dorm, past the cargo stores and service areas. People aren't allowed to live in less than 3/4 G. Corridors branch out every few meters leading to other dorms and living units. Centaur is a warren of corridors. That's part of the program, too. He comes to the tiny foyer or commons room outside the dorm proper and sees red hair beyond a bank of ferns. Laurie chewing on her supper, as he'd guessed. What he hadn't expected is the large form of Don Purcell, hunched opposite her, deep in conversation. Well, well. Mildly astounded, Aaron right flanks into another passage and takes himself off toward his office, blessing Centaur's design. The people of Pioneer had suffered severely from the stress of too much social contact in every waking moment. The answer found for Centaur was not larger spaces, but an abundance of alternative routes that allow her people to enjoy privacy in their comings and goings about the ship, as they would in a village. 2 persons in a 2-meter corridor must confront each other, but in 2 1-meter corridors each is alone and free to be his private self. It has worked well, Aaron thinks. He has noticed that over the years people have developed private trails through the ship. Kawabata, for instance, makes his long way from farm to mess hall by a weird route through the cold sensor blister. He himself has a few. He grins, aware that his mind is demonstrating his total lack of irritation at finding Laurie with another man. In the clinic office, Bruce Jang is chatting up Solange. When Aaron comes in, Bruce holds up 5 spread fingers meaningfully. Aaron blinks, finally remembers. 5 more people think they've seen Tig? 5.5. I'm the half. I only heard him this time. You heard Tig's voice? What did he say? He said goodbye. That's all right with me, you know? Bruce shows his teeth. Bruce, does your 5 include Alstrom or Kawabata? Kawabata, yes. Alstrom, no. 6, then. Solange is registering discovery, puzzlement. Do these people understand they have not really seen him? Kidua and Morelli definitely know. Legersky is suspicious. He said Tig looked weird. Kawabata? Who knows? The Oriental physiognomy. Very opaque. Super Squirrel lives. I think it is good I brought him to the meeting, Solange says. I had the hunch so people will see he's around and not worry. Yeah, good. Aaron takes a breath. I've been having nightmares lately, if it's of any interest. The last one featured Tig. He said goodbye to me, too. Bruce's eyes snap. Oh? You're in beta section. That's bad. Bad? My 5 sightings had a common factor before you blew it. Everyone was in gamma section, fairly near the hole, too. That was nice. Nice. Aaron knows at once what Bruce means. China Flower's official name is Gamma, and the Gamma section is above her berth. But of course she isn't docked now. Bruce, does that tether extend straight out? I'm no engineer. I mean, we're rotating. Is she trailing? Not much. A shallow tractrix. She already had a rotation when they ran her out. Then that alien is right under all the people who hallucinated Tig. Yeah, all but you. We're in beta here. And of course Alstrom is pretty far forward. But Tig himself is here, says Solange. In beta with you. Yeah, but look. Aaron leans back. Aren't we getting into witch doctoring? There are other common factors. First, we've all been under stress for a long time, and we're in a damn spooky place. Then along come 2 big jolts. The news about the planet, and a genuine alien from outer space no one can look at. You've seen the ship, Bruce. People are lighted up like Christmas. Hope is a terrible thing. It brings fear that the hope won't be realized. Suppress the fear and it surfaces as symbol. And poor Tiger is our official disaster symbol, isn't he? Talk about common factors. It's a wonder we aren't all seeing green space boogies. Aaron is pleased to find he believes his own argument. It sounds very convincing. Moreover, Tig is linked with the alien now. If you say so, Doc, says Bruce lightly. Well, I do say so. I say there's sufficient cause to account for the phenomena. Occam's razor. The best explanation is that requiring fewer unsupported postulates, or whatever. Bruce chuckles. You're citing the law of parsimony, actually. He jumps up, turns to examine a telescoping metal rod on Solange's desk. Don't forget, Aaron. Old William ended up proving God loves us. I shall continue to count. Do that, Aaron grins. Bruce comes close, softly to Aaron alone. What would you say if I told you I also saw Mei Lin? Aaron looks up wordlessly. Bruce lays the rod diagonally across Aaron's console. I thought so, he says dryly, and goes out. Solange comes over to take the rod, her face automatically turned to the pity on his. Bruce hallucinating Mei Lin? That fits, too. It doesn't upset Aaron's theory. What's this for, Soli? The extension for the section cutter, she tells him, striking a fencing pose. It needs many wires. It will be a mess. Oh, Soli. Aaron finally gets his arms around her, where they begin to feel alive at last. Smart and beautiful, beautiful and smart. You're such a healthy person. What would I do without you? He buries his unhealthy nose in her fragrant flesh. You would do your house calls, she tells him tenderly, her hips delicious in his hands. Oh, God. Do I have to now? Yes, Aaron, now. Think how it will be nice afterward. Ruefully, Aaron extricates himself, confirming the board's estimate of his drives. Getting out his kit, he recalls another duty and stuffs 2-liter flasks into the kit while Solange checks her files. Bustamante number 1, she tells him. I think he is very tense. I wish to God we could get him in here for an EKG. He will not come. You must do your best. She ticks off 2 more people Aaron would have visited during his weeks in quarantine. And your sister, Yeah. Closing the kit, he wonders for the 1000th time if Solange knows about the flasks inside. And Kobe? Christ. Kobe has to know. He'd have been checking that distillation apparatus from day 1. Probably saving it for some blackmail scheme. Who knows, Aaron thinks. Could I ever explain that I'm not doing what I damned him for? Or am I? Make the records nicely, please, Aaron. I will, Soli. I will. For you. Ha ha. He wants poignantly to turn back, forces himself to trot up a ramp at random, and discovers he is heading again toward Laurie's dorm. Dawn must be long gone now, but he still reconnoiters the lounge area before going in. Laurie's head, and good God, Dawn is still there. Aaron retreats, but not before he has seen that the shoulders actually belong to Timofeyev Braun. Feeling almost ludicrously dismayed, like a character in a bedroom farce, Aaron strides through the mixed dorm commons, vaguely aware of the number of couples among the shadows. What the hell is Laurie becoming? Miss Centaur? They have no right to bother Laurie this way, he fumes. Not with that ulcer still unhealed. Don't they know she needs rest? I am the doctor. The inner voice comments that more than Laurie's ulcers are unhealed. He disregards it. If Tim is not out of there in 30 minutes, he will break it up and... what? Sheepishly, he admits his intention to, well, question her, although he cannot for the moment recall the urgency of what he had to ask. Well, confession is good for ulcers, too. The next turnoff leads to the quarters of his first patient, a member of Tim Braun's crew who came back to Centaur in full depressive retreat. Aaron has worked hard over him, prides himself on having involved the man in a set of correspondence chess games, which he plays in solitary, never leaving his room. Now he finds the privacy lock open, the room empty. Has Igor gone to Commons? His chess book is gone. Another point for the planet, Aaron decides, and goes cheerfully on to Andre Baki's room. Baki is out of bed, his slender Latin face looking almost like its old self, despite the ugly heaviness of glomerule dysfunction. To think I will live to see it, he tells Aaron. Look, I have here the actual water. Jan sent it to me. Virgin water, Aaron. The water of a world never passed through our bodies. Maybe it will cure me. Why not? The man's intensity is heartbreaking. Can he live 2 years, assuming they do not go to Laurie's world? Maybe. Baki is the board's only failure so far. Marin-Briggs syndrome, exceedingly rare, Kobe's brilliant diagnosis. With this I can die happy, Aaron, Baki says. My God, for an organic chemist to experience this! Is there life in it? Aaron gestures at Baki's scanning scope. Oh, yes. Fantastic. So like, so unlike. 10 lifetimes' work. I only have 2 mounts made yet. I'm slow. I'll leave you to it. Aaron puts Baki's urine and saliva vials in his kit. When he comes out, he will not turn back toward Lori. Instead, he takes a midship passage toward the bridge. Centaur's bridge is in her big, shielded nose module, which is theoretically capable of sustaining them all in an emergency. Theoretically, Aaron does not believe that most of his fellow crewmen could bear to pack themselves into it now, merely to survive. Up here is most of their important hardware, Alstrom's computers, astrogation gear, backup generators, and the gyros and laser system, which are their only link with Earth. Yellowston, Dawn, and Tim have quarters just aft of the bridge command room. Aaron turns off before computers at a complex of panels giving access to Centaur's circuitry and stops under the door eye of Centaur's communications chief. There is no visible call plate. Nothing happens, and then the wall beside his knee utters a grating cough. Aaron jumps. "Enter, Doc, enter," says Bustamante's bass voice. The door slides open. Aaron goes warily into a maze of low music and shifting light forms, in which 6 or 7 big black men in various perspectives are watching him. "I'm working on something in your field, Doc. Comparing startle stimuli. Non-linear, low decibels give a bigger jump." Interesting. Aaron advances gingerly through unreal dimensions. Visiting Ray Bustamante is always an experience. "Which one is you?" "Over here." Aaron strikes some kind of mirrored surface and makes his way around it to a comparative normality. Bustamante is on his lounger, in a pose of slightly spurious relaxation. "Roll up that sleeve, Ray. We have to do this. You know that." Bustamante complies, grumbling. Aaron whines on the cuff, admiring the immense biceps. No fat on the triceps either. Maybe the big man really does pay some heed to his advice. Aaron watches his digital readout swing, relishing his feelings for Ray, what he thinks of as Ray's secret. The man is another rarity, a natural-born king, the real living original of which Yellowston is only the abstraction. Not a team leader like Dawn or Tim. The archaic model, the boss, jefe, honcho, whatever. The alpha human male who outfights you, outdrinks you, outroars you, outsmarts you, kills your enemies, begets his bastards on your woman, cares for you as his property, tells you what to do, and you do it. The primordial big man who organized the race and for whom the race has so little more use. 10 years ago it hadn't been visible. 10 years ago there was a tall, quiet, young, Afro-American naval electronics officer with impeccable degrees and the ability to tune a Mannheim circuit in boxing gloves. That was before the shoulders thickened and the brow ridges grew heavy over the watchful eyes. "I really wish you'd come by the clinic, Ray," Aaron tells him, unwinding the cuff. "This thing isn't a precision instrument." "What the hell can you do if you don't like my sound? Give me a stupid pill?" "Maybe." "I'm making that planet, you know, Doc. Dead or alive." "You will." Aaron puts his instruments away, admiring Bustamante's solution to his problem. What does a king do, born into a termite world, barred even from the thrones of termites? Ray had seen the scene, spotted his one crazy chance, and his decision has brought him 20 trillion miles from the termite heap, headed for a virgin planet. A planet with room, maybe, for kings. A girl shape is wavering among the mirrors, suddenly materializes into Melanie, the little white mouse air plant tech. She has an odd utensil in her hand. Aaron identifies it as a food cooking device. "We're working on a few primitive arts." Bustamante grins. "What's it gonna be tonight, Mela?" "A tuber," she says seriously, pushing back her ash-pale hair. "It's sweet, but not much protein. It would have to be combined with fish or meat. You'll get fat." She nods impersonally at Aaron, who goes back behind the screens. "She's mine, you know." Bustamante stretches, one eye on Aaron. "Is that air as good as it looks? Ask your sister if it smells good, will you?" I'll ask her when I drop by tonight. Lots of dropping by recently. Bustamante suddenly flicks a switch, and a screen Aaron hadn't noticed comes to life. It's an overhead shot of the communications office. The gyro chamber beyond is empty. Bustamante grunts, rolls his switch. The view flips to the bridge corridor. Flips to others he can't identify. No people in sight. Aaron goggles. The extent of Bustamante's electronic surveillance network is one of Centaur's standing myths. Not so mythical, it seems. Ray really has been weaving in Centaur's walls. Oddly, Aaron doesn't resent it. Tim dropped by the shop today, just looking to talk, he said. Bustamante flips back to the gyro chamber, zooms in on the locked laser console. There is a definitely menacing flavor to the show. Aaron recalls with pleasure the time Frank Foy tried to get a scanner on Kobe without clearing the Commo chief. As if reading his thought, Bustamante chuckles. To quote the words of an ancient heavyweight boxing champion, George Foreman, "Many a million has fall and stumble when he meet Big George in that old black jungle." Plans to make, you know, Aaron? Melanie, that's one. She's tougher than she looks, but she's kind of puny. Needs some muscle. And that big old Daniela, she's my number 2. Marine biology. She knows fish. He flicks another image on the screen. Aaron gets a flash of a strong female back, apparently in the Commons game bay. You're selecting your prospective family? Aaron is charmed by the big man's grab at the guts of life. A king, all right. I don't plan to hang in too close, you know, Doc. His eye is on Aaron. Should have medical capability. You'll be sticking with the others, right? So I figure number 3 is Solange. Solely. Aaron stares, forces himself to hold his own grin. But have you... what does she... Ray, we're nearly 2 years away. We may not even... Don't worry about that, Doc. Just thought I'd warn you. You can use the time to teach Solely what to do when the babies come. Babies. Aaron reels mentally. The word hasn't been heard on Centaur for years. Maybe time you did a little planning yourself. Never too soon, you know. Good thought, Ray. Aaron makes his way out through the light show jungle, hoping his smile expresses professional cheer rather than the sickly grin of one whose mate has just been appropriated by the man. Solely. Oh, Solely. My only joy. But there's years yet. Nearly 2 years, he tells himself. Surely he can think of something. Or can he? A ridiculous vision of himself fighting Bustamante in a field of giant cauliflower floats through his mind. But the woman they're fighting for isn't Solange, Aaron realizes. It's Lori. Shaking his head at his subconscious, Aaron goes on up to the command corridor, taps the view plate at Captain Yellowstone's door. He feels a renewed appreciation for the more abstract forms of leadership. Come in, Aaron. Yellowstone is at his console, filing his nails. His eyes don't flicker. Aaron has never been able to catch him checking on his loaded kit. The old bastard knows. That speech was a good idea, sir, Aaron says formally. For the time being, Yellowstone smiles, a surprisingly warm, almost maternal smile on the worn Caucasian face. He puts the file away. There's a point or two we should discuss, Aaron, if you're not too pressed. Aaron sits, noting that Yellowstone's faint maxillary tick has surfaced again. The only indicator he has ever given of the solitary self-combat locked in there. Yellowstone has an inhuman ability to function, despite what must be extensive CNS toxicity. Aaron will never forget the day Centaur officially passed beyond Pluto's orbit. That night Yellowstone had summoned him and announced without preamble, Doctor, I am accustomed to taking an average of 6 ounces of alcohol nightly. I have done so all my life. For this trip, I shall reduce it to 4. You will provide them. Staggered, Aaron had asked him how he had come through the selection year. Without. Yellowstone's face had sagged then. His eyes had frightened Aaron. If you care for the mission, Doctor, you will do as I say. Against every tenet of his training, Aaron had. Why? He has wondered that many times. He knows all the conventional names for the demons the old man must poison nightly. Hidden rangings and cravings and panics, all to be exorcised thusly. His business is those names. But the fact is that Aaron suspects the true name of Yellowston's demon is something different, something inherent in life itself, time or evil maybe, for which he has no cure. He sees Yellowston as a complicated fortress, surviving by strange rituals. Perhaps the demon is dead now, the fort empty, but he has never dared to risk inquiring. "Your sister is a very brave girl." Yellowston's voice is extra warm. "Yes, incredible. I want to be sure you know that I appreciate the full extent of Dr. K's heroism. The record will so show. I am recommending her for the Legion of Space." "Thank you, sir." Glumly, Aaron acknowledges Yellowston's membership in the Love Lorry Club. Suddenly, he wonders, is this the start of one of Yellowston's breaks? It has only happened a few times, the giving way of the Iron Man's defenses, but it has caused Aaron much grief. The first was when they were about 2 years out. Yellowston began chatting with young Alice Berryman. The chats became increasingly intense. Alice was star-eyed. So far nothing wrong, only puzzling. Alice told Miriam that he spoke of strange strategic and philosophical principles that she found hard to grasp. The culmination came when Aaron found her weeping before breakfast and hauled her to his office to get the story out. He had been dismayed. Not sex. Worse. A night of incoherent, unstoppable talk, ending in maudlin childhood. How can he be so silly? All stars gone, traumatic disgust. Daddy is dead. Aaron had tried to explain to her the working of a very senior, idiosyncratic old primate. Hopeless. He had given up and shamelessly narco-twisted her memory, made her believe it was she who had been drunk. For the good of the mission. After that he had kept watch. There were 3 more, periodicity about 2 years. The poor bastard, Aaron thinks. Childhood must have been the last time he was free, before the battle began. So far Yellowston has never used him for release. Perhaps he values his bootlegger. More likely, Aaron has decided, he is simply too old. Is that about to change? "Her courage and her accomplishment will be an inspiration." Aaron nods again, warily. "I wanted to be sure you understand I have full confidence in your sister's report." She snowed him, Aaron thinks dismally. Oh, Lori. Then he catches the tension in the pause and looks up. Is this leading somewhere? "There is too much at stake here, Aaron." "That's right, sir," says Aaron, with infinite relief. "That's what I feel, too. Without in any way subtracting from your sister's achievement, it is simply too much to risk on anyone's unsupported word. Anyone's. We have no objective data on the fate of the Gamma crew. Therefore, I shall continue to send Code Yellow, not Code Green, until we arrive at the planet and confirm." "Thank God," says Aaron the atheist. Yellowston looks at him curiously. It's the moment for Aaron to speak about the Tig sightings, the dreams, to confess his fears of Lori and the alien telepathic vegetables. But there's no need now. Yellowston wasn't snowed. It was just his weird courtesy. "I mean, I do agree. Does this mean we're going to the planet, that is? You've decided before we check out that specimen?" "Yes. Regardless of what we find, there is no alternative. Which brings up this point." Yellowston pauses. "My decision with respect to the signal may not be entirely popular, although 2 years is a very short time." 2 years is an eternity, sir." Aaron thinks of the flushed faces, the voices. He thinks of Bustamante. "I realize it may seem so to some. I wish it could be shortened. Centaur does not have the acceleration of the Scouters. More pertinently, Aaron, some crew members may also feel that we owe it to the homeworld to let them know as soon as possible. The situation there must be increasingly acute." They are both silent for a moment, in deference to the acuteness of Earth's situation. "If Centaur were to have an accident before we verify this planet, this could deprive Earth of knowledge of the planet's existence, perhaps forever. The fear of such a catastrophe will weigh heavily with some. On the other hand, we have had no major malfunctions, and no reason to think we shall. We are proceeding as planned. The most abysmal error we could make would be to send the green code now, and then discover, after the ships have been irreversibly launched, that the planet is uninhabitable. Those ships cannot turn back." Aaron perceives that Yellowston is using him to try out pieces of his formal announcement. A bootlegger has many uses. But why not his logical advisors, his execs, Don and Tim? Oh, Aaron begins to suspect who some people may include. We would doom all the people in the pipeline. Worse, we would end forever any hope of a new emigration effort. Our hastiness would be criminal. Earth has trusted us. We must not risk betraying her. Amen. Yellowston broods a moment, suddenly gets up and goes over to his cabinet wall. Aaron hears a gurgle. The old man must have saved his last one until relief arrived. God damn it. Yellowston suddenly sets a flask down hard. We never should have had women on this mission. Aaron grins involuntarily, thinking, there speaks the dead Dick. Thinking also of Soli, of Alstrom, of all the female competences on Centaur, of the debates on female command that had yielded finally to the policy of minimal innovation on a mission where so much else would be new. But he knows exactly what Yellowston means. Yellowston turns around, letting Aaron see his glass, an unusual intimacy. Going to be a bitch, Doctor. These two will be the toughest we've had to face. 2 years. The fact that we're going to the planet ourselves will suffice for most, I think. He massages his knuckles again. It might not be a bad idea for you to keep your eyes and ears rather carefully open, Aaron, during the time ahead. Implications. Doctors, like bootleggers, have their uses too. I believe I see what you mean, sir. Yellowston nods. On a continuing basis, he says authoritatively. He and Aaron exchange regards in which is implicit their mutual view of the relevance of Francis Xavier Foy. I'll do my best, Aaron promises. He has recalled his general checkup plan. Maybe he can use that projective recall session to spot trouble. Good. Now tomorrow we examine that specimen. I'd like to hear your plans. Yellowston comes back, glassless, to his console, and Aaron gives him a rundown on his arrangements with the xenobiology chief. All the initial work will take place in situ, right? Aaron concludes, conscious that the alien's situ is now directly to his left. Nothing goes into the ship. Right. I'd like to have authority to enforce that, and guards on the corridor entrances too. The authority is yours, Doctor. You'll have the guards. That's fine. Aaron rubs his neck. There's been a couple of, call them psychological reactions to the alien I'm looking into. Nothing serious, I think. For instance, have you experienced an impression of localization about the alien, I mean? A sense of where the thing is, physically? Yellowston chuckles. Why, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. Right north, over there. He points high toward Aaron's right. Is that significant, Doctor? Aaron grins in relief. Yeah, it is to me. It signifies that my personal orientation still isn't any good after 10 years. He picks up his kit, moves over to Yellowston's cabinets. I thought the thing was down under your bunk. Unobtrusively, he substitutes the full flasks, noting that drink had been indeed the old man's last. Give your sister my personal regards, Aaron, and don't forget. I'll remember, Captain. Obscurely moved, Aaron goes out. He knows he must do some serious thinking. If Dawn or Tim decide to kick up, what the hell can Dr. Aaron K. do about it? But he is euphoric. The old man isn't buying Laurie's story blind. He isn't going to rush it. Daddy will save us from the giant cauliflowers. I better get some exercise, he thinks, and trots down ramp to one of the long outer corridors on the hull. There are 6 of these bow-stern blisters. They form the berths that hold the 3 big scout ships. Gravity is strong down here, slightly above Earth normal, and people use the long tubes for games and exercise. Another good program element, Aaron thinks approvingly. He comes out into Corridor Beta, named for Don Purcell's scouter. Beta has long been known as the Beast, as in Beast of Fascist Imperialism, a joke of Centaur's early years when Tim's Alpha was likewise christened the Atheist Bastard. Ku's Gamma became only China Flower, the flower which is now hanging on her stem with her cryptic freight. This corridor is identical to Gamma, where the alien will be examined tomorrow. Aaron strides along effortlessly, savoring the G loading, counting access portals which will need guards. There are 14, more than he had thought. Ramps lead down here from all over the ship. The scouters were designed as lifeboats, too. The corridor is so long the far end is hazy. He fancies he can feel a chill on his soles. Imagine, he is in a starship, a fly walking on the wall of a rotating can in cosmic space. There are suns beneath my feet. He remembers the scenes of ceremony that had taken place in these corridors 3 years back, when the scout ships were launched to reconnoiter the suns of Centaurus. In the sad return 4 months ago when first Dawn and then Tim had come back, bearing news of nothing but methane and rock. Will the beast and the bastard soon be ferrying us down to Laurie's planet? I mean in 2 years, and it's Ku's planet, Aaron corrects himself, so preoccupied that he bumps blindly into the rear of Dawn Purcell, backing out of Beta's command dock. Getting ready to land us, Dawn? Dawn only grins, the all-purpose calm grin that Aaron believes he would wear if he were going down in flames. Tough to get behind a grin like that if Dawn really was, well, disaffected. He doesn't look mutinous, Aaron thinks. Hard to imagine him leading an assault on Ray's gyros. He looks like an order man, a good jock. Like Tim. Ku is the same breed, too. Transistorized. The genotype that got us here. The heavy-duty transport of the race. Aaron ducks into the ramp that leads to Laurie's quarters, imagining Dawn and the scout ships and them all superimposed on that planet, that mellow, flowery world, pouring out to make a new Earth. Will they find Ku's colony, or silent bones? But the freedom, the building, and then will come the fleet from Earth. 15 years. That's what we'll have, Aaron thinks, assuming we send the green signal when we land. 15 years. And then the emigration ships will start coming in, what was it Yellowstone called it? The pipeline. Typical anal imagery. The pipeline spewing Earth's crap across the light years. Technicians first, of course, basic machinery, agriculture, pioneer-type colonists. And then pretty soon people-type people, administrators, families, politicians, whole industries and nations all whirling down that pipeline onto the virgin world, covering it, spreading out. What of Bustamante then? What of himself and Laurie? He is by Laurie's door now. The lounge is empty at last. When she opens it, Aaron is pleased to see she's doing nothing more enigmatic than brushing her hair, the same old hygienic black bristles pulling through the coppery curls, which are now just frosted gray. Nice effect, really. She beckons him in, brushing steadily, counting, he guesses. Captain sends you his personal regards. As he sits, it occurs to him that Foy may have bugged her room. No visuals, though. Not Foy. Thank you, Arn. 70. Your personal regards, too? Mine, too. You must be tired. I noticed you had company. Tried to look in earlier. 75. Everybody wants to hear about it. It means so much to them. Yeah. By the way, I admired your tactfulness about our battling Chinese. I didn't know you had it in you, sis. She brushes harder. I didn't want to spoil it. They stopped all that anyway. There. She lays the brush down, smiles. It's such a peaceful place, Arn. I think we could really live a new way there, without violence and hatred and greed. Oh, I know how you... But that's the feeling it gave me, anyway. The light tone doesn't fool him. Laurie, lost child of paradise, striving ever to return. That look in her eye, you could cast her as the young Jean, reminding the Dauphin of the holy cause. Aaron has always had a guilty sympathy for the Dauphin. There'll always be some bad stuff as long as you have people, Lore. People aren't all that rotten. Look at us here. Here? You look, Arn. 60 hand-picked indoctrinated specimens. Are we really good? Are we even gentle with each other? I can feel the savagery underneath, just waiting to break loose. Why, there was a fight yesterday. Here. How does she hear these things? It's a hell of a strain, Lore. We're human beings. Human beings must change. God damn it, we don't have to change. Basically, I mean, he adds guiltily. Why does she do this to him? She makes me defend what I hate too. She's right, really, but... You might try caring a little for people as they are. It's been recommended, he says angrily, and hates the unctuousness in his voice. She sighs, straightens the few oddments on her stand. Her room looks like a cell. Why do we use the word human for the animal part of us, Arn? Aggression, that's human. Cruelty, hatred, greed, that's human. That's just what isn't human, Arn. It's so sad. To be truly human, we must leave all that behind. Why can't we try? We do, Lore. We do. You'd make this new world into another hell like Earth. He can only sigh, acknowledging her words, remembering too the horrible time after their parents died, when Lori was 16. Their father had been Lieutenant General K. They had grown up sheltered, achievement-oriented in the Army Enclave's excellent schools. Lori had been into her biology program when the accident orphaned them. Suddenly she had looked up and seen the world outside, and the next thing Aaron knew he was hauling her out of a Cleveland detention center in the middle of the night. The ghetto command post had recognized her Army ID plate. "Oh, Arn," she had wept to him in the copter going home. "It isn't right! It isn't right!" Her face was blotched and raw where the gas had caught her. He couldn't bear to look. "Lore, this is too big for you. I know it isn't right. But this is not like setting up a dog shelter on Ogilvy Island. Don't you understand you can get your brains cut?" "That's what I mean. They're doing obscene things to people. It isn't right." "You can fix it," he'd snapped at her in pain. "Politics is the art of the possible. This isn't possible. You'll only get killed." "How do we know what's possible unless we try?" Oh, God. That next year. Their father's name had helped some, luck had helped more. In the end, what had probably saved her was her own implacable innocence. He had finally tracked her down in the back shed of a mortuary in the old Barrio section of Dallas, emaciated, trembling, barely able to speak. "Arn, oh, they—" she whimpered while he wiped vomit off her chin. "Dave refused to help Vicky. He wants him to get caught, so he can be leader. He won't let us help him." "I think that happens, Lore." He held her thin shoulders, trying to stop the shaking. "That does happen. People are human." "No!" she jerked away fiercely. "It's terrible. It's terrible. We were fighting among ourselves, Arn. Fighting over power. Dave even wants his woman, I think. They hit each other. She was just property." She heaved up the rest of the soup he'd brought her. "When I said that, they threw me out." Aaron held her helplessly, thinking, her new friends can't live up to her any more than I can. Thank God. "Arn," she whispered. "Vicky, he took some money. I know—" "Lore, come on home now. I fixed it. You can still take your exams if you come back now." "All right." Aaron shakes his head, sitting in Centaur 20 trillion miles from Dallas, looking at that same fierce vision on the face of his little sister now going gray. His little sister whom chance has made their sole link with that planet, that thing out there. "All right, Lore." He gets up, turns her around to face him. "I know you. What the hell happened on that planet? What are you covering?" "Why, nothing, Arn, except what I told you. What's the matter with you?" Is it too innocent? He distrusts everything, cannot tell. "Please let go of me." Conscious of Foy's problematical ears, he lets go, steps back. This would sound crazy. "Do you realize this isn't games, Lore? Our lives are depending on it. Real people's lives, much as you hate humanity. You better not be playing." "I don't hate humanity. I just hate some of the things people do. I wouldn't hurt people, Arn." "You'd liquidate 90% of the race to achieve your utopia." "What a terrible thing to say." Her face is all soul. He aches for her. But Torquemada was trying to help people too. "Lore, give me your word that Ku and his people are absolutely okay. Your faithful word." "They are, Arn. I give you my word. They're beautiful." "The hell with beauty. Are they physically okay?" "Of course they are." Her eyes still have that look, but he can't think of anything else to try. Praise be for Yellowston's caution. She reaches out for him, thin electric hand burning his. "You'll see, Arn. Isn't it wonderful? We'll be together. That's what kept me going all the way back. I'll be there tomorrow when we look at it." "Oh, no." "Jan Ing wants me. You said I'm medically fit. I'm his chief botanist, remember?" She smiles mischievously. "I don't think you should, Lore. Your ulcers. Waiting around would be much worse for them. She sobers, grips his arm. Captain Yellowstone, he's going to send the green, isn't he? Ask him yourself. I'm only the doctor. How sad. Oh well, he'll see. You'll all see. She pats his arm, turns away. What'll we see? How harmless it is, of course. Listen, Arn. This is from some ancient work. The martyr Robert Kennedy quoted it before he was killed. To tame the savage heart of man, to make gentle the life of this world. Isn't that fine? Yeah, that's fine, Lore. He goes away less than comforted, thinking, the life of this world is not gentle, Lori. It wasn't gentleness that got you out here. It was the drives of ungentle, desperate, glory-hunting human apes. The fallible humanity you somehow can't see. He finds he has taken a path through the main commons. Under the displays, the nightly bridge and poker games are in session as usual, but neither Dawn nor Tim is visible. As he goes out of earshot, he hears the Israeli physicist ante what sounds like an island. An island? He climbs up toward the clinic, hoping he heard wrong. Solange is waiting for him with the medical log. He recites Ray and Baki's data with his head leaning against her warm front, remembering he has another problem. Forget it, he tells himself. I have 2 years to worry about Bustamante. Slowly, tomorrow, I want to rig up an array of decontaminant canisters over the examination area, with the release at my station. Say a good strong phytocide plus a fungicide with a mercury base. What should I get from stores? Decon 7 is the strongest, Aaron. But it cannot be mixed. We will have to place many tanks. Her face is mirroring pity for the hypothetically killed plants, concern for the crew. Okay, so we'll place many tanks. Everything the suits will take. I don't trust that thing. Soli comes into his arms, holds him with her strong, small hands. Peace, comfort. To make gentle the life of mankind. His body has missed her painfully, demonstrates it with a superior erection. Soli giggles. Fondly he caresses her, feeling like himself for the first time in weeks. Do I see you as property, Soli? Surely not. The thought of Bustamente's huge body covering her floats through his mind. His erection increases markedly. Maybe the big black brother will have to revise his planning, Aaron thinks genially, hobbling with her to his comfortable, comforting bunk. 2 years is a long time. Drifting asleep with Soli's warm buttocks in his lap, Aaron has a neutral, almost comic, hypnagogic vision. Tig's face big as the wall, garlanded with fruits and flowers like an Italian bambino plaque. The pink and green flowers tinkle, chime, elfland horns. Tantara! Centripetal melodies. Tantara, tara, tara! And fairy horns turn into his medical alarm signal, with Soli shaking him awake. The call is from the bridge. He leaps out of bed, yanking shorts on, hits the doorway with one shoulder and runs up to the free-fall shaft. His kit is somehow in his hand. He has no idea what time it is. The thought that Yellowstone has had a heart attack is scaring him to death. Oh God, what will they do without Yellowstone? He kicks free, sails, and grabs clumsily like a 3-legged ape, clutching the kit, is so busy figuring alternative treatment spectrums that he almost misses the voices coming from the commo corridor. He gets himself into the access, finds his feet, and scurries down, still so preoccupied that he does not at first identify the dark columns occupying the communication steps. They are Bustamente's legs. Aaron pushes in past him and confronts a dreadful sight. Commander Timofeyev Braun is sagging from Bustamente's grasp, bleeding briskly from his left eye. All right, Tim mutters. Bustamente shakes him. What the hell was that power drain? Don Purcell comes in behind Aaron. This booger was sending, Bustamente growls. Shit-eater. I was too slow. He was sending on my beam. He shakes the Russian again. All right, Tim repeats unemotionally. It is done. The blood is coming from a supraorbital split. Aaron disengages Tim from Bustamente, sits him down with his head back to clamp the wound. As he opens his kit, a figure comes slowly through the side door from astrogation. Captain Yellowstone. Sir, Aaron is still confusedly thinking of that coronary. Then Yellowstone's peculiar rigidity gets through to him. Oh, Jesus, no. The man is not sick, but smashed to the gills. Bustamante is yanking open the gyro housing. The room fills with a strange humming tone. "I did not harm the beam," Tim says under Aaron's hands. "Certain equipment was installed when we built it. You did not look carefully enough." "Son of a bitch," says Don Purcell. "What do you mean, equipment?" Bustamante's voice rises, harmonic with the precessing gyros. "What have you done, flyboy?" "I was not sent here to wait. The planet is there." Aaron sees Captain Yellowstone's lips moving effortfully, achieving a strange, pursed look. "You indicated," he says eerily, "you indicated, that is, you have preempted the green." Others stare at him, look away one by one. Aaron is stabbed with unbearable pity. He is suspecting that what has happened is so terrible it isn't real yet. "Son of a bitch," Don Purcell repeats neutrally. The green signal has been sent, Aaron realizes. To the Russians, anyway, but everybody will find out. Everybody will start. It's all over. He's committed us whether that planet's any good or not. Oh God, Yellowstone. He saw this coming. If he'd been younger, if he'd moved faster, if half his brains hadn't been scrambled in alcohol. I brought it to him. Automatically his hands have completed their work. The Russian gets up. Don Purcell has left. Bustamante is probing the gyro chamber with a resonator, not looking at Tim. Yellowstone is still rigid in the shadows. "It was in the hull shielding," Tim says to Bustamante. "The contact is under the toggles. Don't worry, it was one time." Aaron follows him out, unable to believe in any of this. Lieutenant Polly is waiting outside. She must be in it too. "Tim, how could you be so goddamn sure? You may have killed everybody." The cosmonaut looks down at him calmly, one-eyed. "The records don't lie. They are enough. We will find nothing else. That old man would have waited forever." He chuckles, a dream planet in his eye. Aaron goes back in, leads Yellowstone to his quarters. The captain's arm is trembling faintly. Aaron is trembling too, with pity and disgust. That old man, Tim had called him. That old man. Suddenly he realizes the full dimensions of this night's disaster. 2 years. The hell with the planet. Maybe they won't even get there. 2 years in this metal can with a captain who has failed, an old man mocked at in his drunkenness? No one to hold us together, as Yellowstone had done during those unbearable weeks when the oxygen ran low, when panic had hung over all their heads. He had been so good then, so right. Now he's let Tim take it all away from him. He's lost it. We aren't together anymore. Not after this. It'll get worse. 2 years. "In the fan," Yellowstone whispers, with tragic dignity, letting Aaron put him onto his bed. "In the fan. My fault." "In the morning," Aaron tells him gently, dreading the thought. "Maybe Ray can figure some way." Aaron heads hopelessly for his bunk. He knows he won't sleep. 2 years.